All right, guys, welcome back for part two of our sound vision tutorial here. We are going to start by looking at the options in sound vision, but I thought it'd be cool to come back to our sound vision archive here. And we can see once again in the sound vision archive, there are already venues all over the world that you could pick from. So why try to recreate something that's already drawn for you in here? So I'm going to come down to the United States. And I'm going to pick, sure, let's go to Hollywood, Florida. And there we can see we have the Seminole Hard Rock. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that and just double click on it. And when Sound Vision opens up, we can see that the venue is completely drawn in there for us already. So we don't really have to do anything, which is awesome. It saves us a lot of time and a lot of hassle. I'm going to go up here to the little gear because I want to talk about some options for rendering that are in Sound Vision here for us. So I'm going to go to calculation, and the one thing we can set in calculation is the frequency bandwidth that we want to look at. So for our main line arrays or full range boxes, we're going to be looking at between 63 and 20,000 hertz. And for the subwoofer bandwidth, we have a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 100. In rendering here, this is what I really want to show you. This is where we can go in and change the scale that is over here on the left-hand side of the of our page. So 70 dB is probably pretty quiet. I'm going to go ahead and set this at 80, and maybe we'll do 120. Oops. That's a pretty big scale. Let's do 70 and 120 as a max. So we're going to be looking at between 60 dB and 120 dB. We have two different scales. There's sort of this smoother scale right here, or we kind of have this chopped up scale where it's a little more defined. We could also come in here and change the dB increments. So we could be looking at 10 at 10. dB per chunk, so starting at 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 90 to 100, all the way up to our 120 scale. So if you ever needed to play around with the scale, it's in the options, it's in rendering. This is where you would go in and do it. Another thing that we could look at in here is back in calculation. You have to remember to properly plan your PA, one thing you might want to take into consideration is temperature and humidity. And you guys will get more into this in AMS when we talk about how temperature and humidity affect tuning a PA to get the best sound out of it. But say, we're in Florida, you know what the temperature is going to be all the time, and you know that there's probably going to be 60% humidity down here at least all the time. So you can go ahead and put that stuff in, especially if you're doing an outdoor rig or something like that. So I'm going to close this. So to deal with loudspeakers in here, it's going to be in this column called loudspeaker data. And to put in a new source or a new speaker or new line array, new subwoofer, we're going to come down here to the bottom and we're going to select new source. So there's four different categories that are in here. You have the WST column, and this is where all your line array products are going to be: the K1, the K2, the Kara, the Kiva, the ARX Focus, and the ARX Wide. Subs is going to have all the different subwoofers they make in it. You have the K1 subs, the SB28s, the SB18s, and so on. Here are the different coaxial products they are currently making right now, like monitor wedges or speakers on a stick or something along those lines. And then we have discontinued products, and people are going to go, wow, there's a lot in the discontinued product column here. Well, there's still a lot of DV-DOS and Kudo and VDOS systems that are out there being used. So they want you to still be able to use Sound Vision to do all of your programming that you would need to do. I'm going to come back up here to the WST column. Let's go ahead and we're just going to pick a K1 PA for right now. So I'm going to select the K1 PA, and you can see that it drops a PA in there for us, which is what we would want it to do. Now, to change anything on this PA, we have our loudspeaker data down here now that actually has some data points in it that we can go in and change. The parameters that we can change are the position. We can move it in the X space, the Y space, or the Z space. We can change its sight angle, which this would be its rake up or down. And then we also have our azimuth, our left to right steering of the PA. Global settings we have gain and delay if we wanted to put any on that. We could also come down here and tell it if we are going to fly the amp racks with the rig. That's a common thing that's done now, but we can fly anywhere between 4 amp racks on top of our PA currently as it sits. Then we have our element settings. So this is how we can either add speakers to our line array, or I can take speakers away from our line array. I'm going to do this one with, we'll do 14 speakers. We can also change whether or not the PA is stacked or not. So people always ask all the time, how did you come up with the angles for Live 1? Well, what I did was we drew Live 1 in Sound Vision. We put in 6 boxes of Kara, and we did exactly what it is we're getting ready to do next, which is we're going to start setting some angles. So that's going to be done down here in this source cut view window. And I'm actually going to bring it up and blow it up so we can see it a little better. First thing I'm going to do, though, we can see in our venue, I'm going to spin the venue around here 3D. We can see back in the back of our venue here, we have a upper balcony seating area, a lower balcony seating area, and then we have the main floor all the way back here to the stage. But if I look at the PA that's in the space right now, I can see it's a little low. Right? If we're just looking at that, we can sort of just tell it's not in the correct Z height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this up to 45 feet. Now, if we want to move it left or right to get it into position, that's going to be on our X and Y plane. So right now I'm going to move this to the positive 34 feet over, and then I'm going to kind of take a look at it. And it seems like it's falling kind of evenly right off the stage and right off from where that wall is. Maybe I want to move it forward a little bit, so that would be in the Y. So maybe I want to move it 3 feet forward. All right, I like where that is sitting. All right, so back to our source cut view window here. So here's our PA that we just moved all around. Here is that upper balcony seating in the rear of the house. And here's sort of that mid balcony seating. And down here would be the dance floor all the way back to the stage. So we can see right now we still have this whole section up here that's sort of getting missed. So maybe what I'll do is I'm going to grab this blue line. And you can see when I grab the blue line, I'm moving the whole PA. I'm basically swinging the whole PA. What this is doing is this is changing the azimuth angle. We can see right now it's at 3.4. Let me slide this over to show you how this works. So I'm going to grab it again, and we can see as I move the PA up or down, that azimuth or that sight angle is going to change. So I'm going to kind of angle this up here for now, so I'm hitting all these people way up here in this nosebleed section. Then you can see I have a yellow line, or a bunch of yellow lines in there. Each yellow line is a box. It is one of the elements in our line array. And what I'm going to do first, and this is just the way I like to do it, is I'm going to splay out my entire PA as wide as it'll go. And then I kind of start filling back in. This is just kind of the way my brain works. Your brains might work the other way. You might start doing the coverage area and spreading it out as you go. So I can see that I've angled out this PA a whole bunch, and now you can see it's in a typical J curve how it would be. So my top box is hitting all the way back up here at the top row of this area right here. So I'm going to start backing some stuff up. Maybe I'll cover this area up here with 2 boxes. Then I'm going to bump down to my second balcony area. Maybe I'll drag this up to get some tighter coverage. And there is kind of no right or wrong way to do this. It is kind of all trial and error when it comes to splaying out a PA and setting angles. I don't think one way really works better than the other. You just kind of have to play around with it. And this is literally how we set the angles for the Kara rig in Live 1. So that's looking pretty good right now. I'm sort of orange all the way across the board, which is what I would want to be in. So now I'm going to come back. I'm going to minimize this source cut view right here. And now I'm going to actually look at the coverage of my PA. You can see that as you get a little closer up here, the spacing becomes a little tighter. And that's all right because that's where those boxes are kind of hitting. But we can see I'm covering the whole venue all the way back here to the back. So these little circled dots are your SPL targets, so you can kind of use those to judge your scale. But let's say maybe I want to steer this in a little bit, so I don't know if I need to go positive. Yep, need to go negative. So I'm going to steer this in -4 degrees. So what I did was I turned the whole PA to the right. to sort of cover the space. And I'm going to go ahead and name this PA while I'm in here. House left. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to mirror over the other side of this PA. So I'm going to go to symmetry and I'm going to mirror it over. So now we're really covering the whole venue as best as we can with our K1 rig here. So the SPL dots are great, but maybe I want to see what this is doing on that 63 Hertz to 20K. So I'm going to come up here and switch my mapping mode to on. And you can see now we can use this scale to judge that we're anywhere between 100 to right up to 110 pretty solidly throughout the venue. Now, you can add in supplementary systems. So I'm just going to show you guys something while we're in here real quick. I'm going to name this one House Right. Let's see, maybe I want a center cluster to get in here to really fill in this front area right here. I'm going to do a new source, and this time I'm going to do some arcs. And we can see that there it just dropped in an arcs rig for me. I'm going to turn the mapping mode back to our target dots because it makes it a little faster to render. And let's go ahead and I'm going to put this PA up at the right height that it would need to be. So let's put it up there with our main boxes at 45 feet. And we're going to give this a side angle of -10. Actually, let's do -15 to make it more like a center cluster up there. It looks like, let me see if we can get this to come back any more without doing an error. So I'm going to turn off the other PA here right now. So here's just this cluster of arcs that I put up here. Maybe I want to make it a little bigger. Add some more enclosures to it. So there, it's 5 enclosures wide. So you can see now I'm sort of covering this center area right here really well. Let's say maybe I want to gain it up 10 dB, which I can't do because it's going to tell me that I'm going to overload it. So let's try 5 dB. You can see just gaining that up 5 dB. Now let's unhide our main PA, and we're going to come back up here and turn the mapping mode back on. And we can see now we've really got some even coverage here in the center of the floor where majority of our audience is going to be. We can see too that we're still not totally forgetting about our people up here in the back. They're still pretty solidly covered, which is what we would want. So feel free to, load up different venues and play around with it. And once again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us. Sound vision is one of these things. I'm still always constantly learning it as well. So anytime I learn a new tip or trick to do in sound vision, I will definitely share it with you guys. So stay tuned for the next video.